You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
Welcome back to our Tales of the Empire coverage here on For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. It is Andrew and Donovan back here once again to talk about the Barriss Offee stories from Tales of the Empire. Are we recording this about literally 5 seconds after we finished recording the Morgan one? Why would you say that?
Quite possibly.
Definitely not.
Time works different here.
Are we doing one big recording batch? Maybe we are. I don't know. But we're here to talk about that. And talk about the long-awaited return of Barriss Offee to the world of Star Wars storytelling. The fact that it was 11 years since The Wrong Jedi came out, the last time we saw her in anything. And for years it was, Dave, where's Barriss? Dave,
where's Barriss, Dave?
What happened to Barriss Offee?
Where's Barriss, Dave?
We finally get the answer. And now it's going to be, Dave, what happened to Barriss?
Dave, why is Barriss alive? What happened to Barriss, Dave? Literally, Dave Filoni.
He gave us an open-ended answer, and he ends it with another open-ended one.
Is this just going to be like his MO then? Every time Barriss Offee appears in anything anymore.
These are my two running gags now. Zeb is going to show up in every show but Ahsoka, and every time Barriss shows up, it's going to be an open-ended answer on whether or not she survived or not.
Like she just calmly gets on a ship and goes away at the end of like whatever animated series they're doing, and it just randomly explodes, and we're like, is Barriss okay? What happened? How did the ship blow up? And Dave's like, I'll let you know when it happens. Yeah,
you'll have to tune in for the next season. I'm like,
God damn it,
Dave. Before we get into that, though, another thing that's happened since we have last met up is I, for the first time, got to go to Galaxy's Edge, which is so exciting. This was my first time at Disney in general since 2007, which is just insane to think about. It's been most of my life. I went when I was 9 years old. I have not yet been able to experience that in my adult life. So to see that and experience that was such a great time. It was what an amazing week it was. But Hollywood Studios was the thing I was looking forward to the most because I got to experience Galaxy's Edge for the first time. And let me just walking in there and just experiencing Batuu was so cool. I was almost just kind of expecting the minute I walked in to just immediately engulfed by the John Williams score and everything. And it wasn't quite that, but you immediately everything shifts and it feels like you're in the universe. You see droids everywhere. You see outposts. You see so many different things. I saw Rey almost immediately, which was amazing. And then just the lightsaber building experience. That was one of the things that we made it a point to do almost immediately. We had our reservations. We got it. I'm going to add some videos and post when we do this of my the ending experience of building the saber. I have posted it on Twitter at Starlight Andrew if you want to follow me there. It was just crazy, man. It was so cool. It was so cool. Again, shout out to the cast members and the dedication of making this. It was not just you put a thing together and you go brr. It was a performance. it was an event. They have this build up, this story of explaining you got to keep hush hush because the First Order might catch us, and you can't call it. You make sure you call it scrap metal. And it was so cool because they give you these bags to carry the saber with afterwards, which were not comfortable. But I had to carry it around the whole time. And when I'm on Rise of the Resistance, a First Order officer comes up to me and they point out, what is that? And I was like, scrap metal. And they were like, I doubt that very much. I was like, I called it. I used the bit. It came back. But just telling the stories of the meaning of sabers and the meaning of the Jedi and of Rey's resurgence and there's whispers of a new Jedi, which I thought was so cool. And I was, of course, because I'm an asshole and I'm a cynical fuck, and knowing the state of the Star Wars fandom, I was half expecting someone in the room to be like, not Rey Palpatine, you need the Mary Sue. That didn't happen, thankfully.
There's too much magic happening for anyone.
I know.
If anyone going there feels like that, I doubt
just say,
they
like,
can withstand the
again,
magic.
all the people that say Star Wars is dead, no one cares. Literally, as soon as I walked into Galaxy's Edge, I saw 3 different people dressed as Rey. I saw more Star Wars shirts that whole week than I did any other Disney property. So no, it's not dead. People still love these things. Just because your bubble of the internet doesn't like them doesn't mean that they're not loved everywhere.
Shock of shock, Twitter
and
Twitter
the love
is
for
not
these
a great
things.
measurement of reality.
Yeah. And Rise of the Resistance is just one of the coolest rides ever, but I'll talk about that. But it was so cool because they, like, when you walk into the workshop, they give you this, like, choice of, like, what style do you want to build your saber in? And I ended up going with, I don't remember the name of I wanted to go with one of them, but they were like, oh, we don't have the part for this. And I was like, damn it, because it kind of looked like Gunji's saber, and I wanted, like, that kind of saber. But I went with this, and this is what I ended up building, this freaking beauty right here.
Oh, that is beautiful.
It is so amazing.
Right.
And the guy that was helping me build it was like, oh, a saber of the High Republic era. You know, they don't get sabers like that anymore. And I was just like, this guy knows his stuff. And then, of course,
yes. Look at that. That is awesome.
It is so cool. And then, of course, later in the night, had to take some pictures by the Falcon.
That is fantastic.
I'll probably add more, but I was sitting on those because I'm like, I got to make sure they turn out good. And
that
just
is glorious.
I was like, I need to take one. All right, I took several. But, like, that was like immediately, I was like, I know what I'm doing. I need to do this. This is a bucket list moment. And just seeing the Falcon in person, I was just like, this is insane. The actual ride, the Smuggler's Run, was great. Honda didn't show up for me, which I was told that normally the animatronic does show up in the pre-show, and I didn't get lucky. So he didn't show up, but he showed up on a screen. So I got that.
I saw your lightsaber and bolted.
I know. He was like, oh, no, I'm getting out of here.
Jedi. Too many Jedi. That is awesome, man. I'm so happy for you.
Rise was
amazing.
So cool. It was like, someone described it as like, oh, it's more of an experience than a ride. And I experienced, and I was like, yeah, no, they were kind of right. Like, it was so amazing. I highly recommend anyone that has a chance to go rides this thing because it was insane. Like, Daisy Ridley showed up on a hologram in the pre-show, and I, to no one's shock, freaked the fuck out. It was just great. I recommend it to everyone. It was so great, and it was just it was a bucket list moment for me of waiting close to 5 years of being able to experience this, and to have it just be such an amazing week and spend it with some amazing people was just a tremendous moment. So shout out to everyone that made it happen, and I'm glad that we finally, after years of talking about scheduling this trip, actually booked it and actually did it. And I can't wait to go back. They did announce at D23 that they're adding a Mando and Grogu story to Smuggler's Run, so that'll be very fun to experience that. I also want to talk about Star Tours because that was awesome.
You did Star Tours as well.
We did Star Tours 3 times. So we went on. It was like later at night, so we got, because there was a couple different like branch stories. The first time we got, I think it was, we started with Kylo Ren and then we ended up in like Exegol, which I was like, oh, I was not expecting.
Oh, you did Exegol?
My first one. Yeah.
So then we were like, anything, Exegol at least is cool.
So then we were like, all right, should we go again? We went again, and we ended up getting the Ahsoka one, which was great because Ahsoka shows up, and then you like get taken into Cetos, and you get to see the pergola and everything. That's like the newest one they've added. It was so cool.
That's awesome.
And then we were just gonna leave it at that. And then one of the cast members was like, "You guys want to go again?" And we are like, "Yeah, sure." And he just let us like go right back in. And then we got, I think it was like Coruscant, and we got I think it was Leia was our character in that one. It was just really cool. It was a great ride. I did that when I was younger, but the ride was a bit different back then. So good to see it in this new form was great. I was hoping that we'd get Cassian, but we got a lot of other cool characters. So the Ahsoka one took me by surprise. I was not expecting that at all. And getting to see the pergola, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. How did they already do this?
So it's very immersive then, I take it. Like, really like cool.
It was very like, you feel like you're there kind of thing. And even just the little things, like just waiting in line for certain things and just seeing little props and areas and droids and stuff like that. I was just like, this is awesome. And I just, little stuff like this I love. And this was just a really fun night, a really fun time. And shout out to the cantina too. That was amazing. That was absolutely fantastic. So again, highly recommend everyone goes at some point. It's a bucket list thing, and it was just a great experience.
You made it sound absolutely magical, dude. I have to say, like, just awesome. I will ask you one question. Did you do like the most important thing there? And did you have one of those Coca-Cola Star Wars,
I did.
like things? Yeah, they look. Yep. It's the funniest thing for me that like they have branded soft drinks.
Yeah,
but they have them in
the thermal detonators. We did that, and we tried the blue milk, which was pretty good.
You tried the blue milk. That's
I was
awesome.
worried because it had like a coconut milk base, and I was worried because sometimes it just like really upsets my stomach. But it was good. It was good. It came with this like little like cookie topping too. Oh, chef's kiss. It was quite good.
That's nice.
Very photogenic drinks.
Did you go to Doc Ondar's shop? See that?
Yes, we did. Yes. The Ithorian again. I had bad luck with the animatronics and the characters this whole.
Oh, did he? Was he absent?
Not see the Ithorian was not it was absent, and like in all the parks, there were not many characters walking around like the whole time. Like we had a lot in Hollywood Studios. But like it was very, very hot that week, so that probably had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But we only saw like in Youngsters, we saw Rey, we saw a couple stormtroopers, we saw a First Order officer, we briefly saw Chewie. That was the other theme for our trip. Is every single time we'd see a character, it would be right when they're like leaving. So like, we would, oh Chewie, oh he's leaving. Oh Chip, oh they're leaving. Like that happened so many times on this trip, I swear. The only walk around character that we didn't see at Galaxy's Edge was Kylo. I know there are a couple that are just at Disneyland. Like I think Din and Boba and Ahsoka are just at the Disneyland version of the park. I could be wrong there, but I think that's what my friend who was a cast member told me. So that could be right, could be wrong. I don't remember. We also saw, I don't remember the name of the character, but she's in the Black Spire books. And she's a walk around character in the park too.
Interesting.
And she was with Rey. And my girlfriend was like, "Oh, who's that?" And I was like, "I think she's a character in the books, and they made her for the park, but I don't quite remember." People that frequent Galaxy's Edge know exactly who I'm talking about, but this is my first time, and that is the Black Spire books and Crash of Fate are two that I've heard good things about, but I have not yet gotten to. So
go to our YouTube video. Go to our YouTube video of this and drop some comments about it, like telling us who this character is.
Tell me about your first time going and what your experience was like. Again, just seeing people like with the sabers and dressed up and everything. We want to go like when it's a bit cooler out next time, just so I can do that, and so we can maybe like do a Disney bound or because they were selling like the robes and the tunics and shit, but there was one I was looking for, but I couldn't find it. So I'm hoping I find it at some point, but it was just really cool. And it's just, I could totally see myself getting immersed in it because I was, and we were at that area of the park for a solid 3.5-4 hours. So it was like a nice chunk of time we spent there. But yeah, I would highly recommend it, and definitely two things. If you do two things, build a saber and ride the Rise of the Resistance. I didn't get to build a droid. That might be a next time thing. We were just like, I don't know, but like it seemed fun. And then I saw someone with a chopper later, and I got jealous. So there's that. I got a mini one. I got a little tiny one, but
that's adorable.
and I didn't realize he made noise. And then, like as we were leaving, I heard the and I'm like, what the hell was that? And I just see him. I'm like, how do I turn this off?
Yeah, the small soldiers moment, like with Archer poking out of the bag. That's hilarious.
But to segue into Barriss, you go from the most magical place on earth to not that, which is Barriss in prison,
literal nightmares.
Yeah, watching the Jedi Temple get attacked.
Now you must face one final test. To join us.
It was so ominous, like the way it was burning in the far distance, like you could barely see it. It just to show how far removed she has become from the Jedi. Really good visual metaphor, just starting us right off there, and also to open with her having a literal nightmare and being awakened by what we can assume is the screams of the Jedi and the younglings being sadly massacred. It's a really strong way to show that Barriss is conflicted, that she has this ideological divide, this very flawed ideological divide with the Jedi, but her heart is still somewhat open towards the feelings of others. And it was just really interesting, really powerful way to open the show. Yeah, the segment.
Here's the one thing I didn't get was the Coruscant guards come up to her and they're like, "Oh, just be glad you're not a Jedi anymore. Tomorrow they'll be extinct." It's like, is that how that works now? Like, if I was Executor 66, I'm not a Jedi anymore. It's like, guess we can't do anything now, boys. Like, it's.
I'm kind of surprised no one's done the joke, although, like, I suppose Bad Batch sort of got close to it, really, with the rest of the batch going, we're not going to kill him, and then like Crosshair just got activated.
It was a very like ominous way to start, as we said, getting to see again. It was just like, oh my god, we're seeing Barriss again, but we literally like walk in on this moment, and then the next thing we see is the fourth sister come into her cell, who we learned that her name was Lynn Rakish, which we did not know prior to this show. I liked seeing her and having her be a huge focal point in these episodes because she was a cool background character in Obi-Wan, but like that was it. She looked cool. Yeah. She got a figure out of it, but that's it. I don't think she had any lines. That was it. Here
they were biting
like the co-main character with Barriss. Which I thought was a really nice choice, and establishing that prior bond between the two of them where they at least knew of each other. It's like, oh, I don't go by that anymore. So that was interesting. Of like, we see two slow realizations and like reawakenings of getting out of the dark side and pulling back to the light between the two of them, which I liked, and I liked seeing their parallel stories here. But it was also really cool to go to like a super duper early under construction version of Fortress Inquisitorious.
It really was. I loved that they were just sort of getting it built, and so you had the kind of more cavernous areas, like where the Grand Inquisitor trains Barriss, and that bit with like the pit. It really felt like very kind of primitive and very early days, and I just love that we've got all these different iterations of Fortress Inquisitorious, because it really is a fantastic location, and just in terms of the menace it represents and like the amount of variety in its locations. Like we got so much of it during Obi-Wan and also Fallen Order. I now that we've seen it nearing its genesis, I kind of want to see like what happened to it afterwards. Like I just love the idea of like Luke maybe goes there after the end of like Return of the Jedi, and he scours it for like any Jedi relics, because we know he was doing that. So it would be a very cool kind of thing.
Maybe is like,
maybe do that in an animated show, Lucasfilm. Like, give us an animated segment. Oh, see, here's the thing. Because okay, so just for anyone like listening who hasn't listened to the Morgan Elsbeth episodes for some reason, we also talked about the D23 stuff at that happened, like including the Skeleton Crew trailer. One thing we didn't talk about during that episode was the rebuild, the Lego Star Wars special,
yes,
which we've kind of like avoided talking about until now on this podcast. And can I just say, this is the most excited I have ever been for a Lego Star Wars special. And I found the specials charming enough, but I just have to mention this because we got something I never thought Lucasfilm would go near, and that is Darth Jar Jar. Voiced by Ahmed Best himself. It is crazy. It is the craziest shit.
Darth Rose, Darth Nubs,
Darth Rose Tico, Darth Nubs, Darth Kit Fisto. Like, it's crazy. And we're gonna get Darth Ray as well. And there's like a
Yoda and Mace Windu on
Narkina 5. Like, yeah, like I really want to see if they have matching prison tats, like in Orabesh or something. Like something in the Jedi Code in Orabesh, and they like flex.
I think this is like, people have often asked, like, oh, how could they do a what if Star Wars show? It's like, do it in Lego and do this and go absolutely batshit insane with it.
Have your good guys be Jedi Vader with a blue lightsaber, all in white, which I love that they've put that in there, because I have the Black series of the I can't remember the comics story, but it's like it's the white Vader in the armor, and I just love that look, and I love that they've put it in Lego. And also have Jedi Bob show up and be like a main character. That's just fantastic.
I want that Dark Falcon set so bad. It's gonna be a little bit before I get it, but I want it so bad.
Oh, it's so
this
cool.
Disney trip put me in a little bit of debt, but you know, it's
we predicted, by the way, we sort of like alluded to Darth Jar Jar during our Clone Wars recaps back when we did the Blue Shadow virus, and I really wish I'd said, "Misa going to hurt you, sir," because I would have looked like a goddamn prophet.
What they need
that's
to
the
do
first line he says
is they need to like shot for shot recreate the Robot Chicken sketch in this special.
Make Darth Jar Jar have to go into space, and he puts on another one of those helmets and squashes his eyes up, and then he just like leers at the character.
No, scary. But no, I can't wait. I was like, the first trailer, I'll admit, I was like, I love the concept, not sold on the quality yet. Second trailer, I'm like, nah, this is great. I love this. I can't wait for this. It's gonna be so fun, and we will talk about it here. There's just so much, like, there literally are like, let's throw stuff at a wall. All right, so we got Luke Skywalker as like a beach guy running around.
Mark Hamill is perfect
cool
for that, by the way. Like him giving this cynical view of what happens to Luke Skywalker is so funny.
Also, the posters, like the Jar Jar one for the Phantom Menace poster, and then Leia with, is it Greedo for the Attack of the Clones one, and then the TLJ one with the Redeemed Vader. It's so great.
It's cool.
These are like some just they're having, you can tell they're having so much fun with this. And I like we alluded to it, I love those Lego specials. And I was like really bummed when we didn't get one last year, because I was like, oh, this is becoming like one of my new favorite traditions. We did get a Marvel one, and I think we got a Princess one too. But like, I missed having that Star Wars one. So to have this one and have it be like a full-on miniseries this year, as opposed to like a little like Disney Plus movie, I think is going to be really enjoyable. And I hope they again continue with these Lego ones, because they're super fun. And it's been one of our few areas that we've continued to see the sequel trilogy characters in recent years. So like, while we're waiting for New Jedi Order, which was another thing, Disney, what the fuck? Like, you could have just like given us something at D23. Like, oh well. We got more time. I just don't want to wait until Celebration, because it's so far out. I'm like, do I have to wait until fucking April to get an Acolyte season 2 announced?
I think
that one didn't age quite so well.
But going back to the shorts, I mean, yeah, the Tales of the Empire. No disrespect at all to Rupert Friend, but hearing Jason Isaacs as the Grand Inquisitor again, I was like,
I know.
Oh, I love it.
This is the first time we've got to talk about him on the podcast. Because
I
only just started it.
Jason Isaacs so much. So like getting
Gortash himself.
Again, yeah, I was like,
from Baldur's Gate. He's
Fuck
so good
yeah.
at playing villains. He's so good at playing villains. He's got that tone of voice that he has. He's just he's so excellent here, and he's just not lost a step in terms of like the kind of voice he gives the Grand Inquisitor. This kind of like slimy kind of like voice where he feels so in control of everything he does and of everyone in the room. He's so amused by everyone, which is it's definitely a difference from Rupert Friend's kind of like quiet, like haughty, above it all kind of thing that he doesn't know want. They're both interpretations that I think work well with the Grand Inquisitor, but like you said, I'm just happy to see Jason Isaacs show up again, and he was used really well here, training Barriss in that moment, like getting her to sort of like trying to get her to let go of
fighting like a Jedi, like
yeah.
and then getting like that moment of like Barriss with like the nosebleed and her just using the Force, and then having like that little like drip of blood down his mouth as he like smiles all sinisterly. I'm like,
with the full yellow eyes.
That's
like,
that dude right there. Like I was,
and he's just come. He's probably just come as well from like helping Vader like take out Jocasta Nu at the Jedi Archives from the Vader comics. So he's going to be feeling the dark side pretty heavily by that point.
Do you think that Barriss like knew that he was like one of the old Temple guards?
I don't know. I kind of would love the idea if like they retroactively said he was one of the Temple guards that is like holding Barriss like during the Wrong Jedi when she's brought to Ahsoka's trial. That would be really cool because it would kind of give it this hitherto unknown connection between them, and it would have been cool if we'd had like a line like that. But I get that they wanted to keep the focus on Barriss's training to be an Inquisitor, and it was really good because again she did threaten to become a little too internalized, just like with Morgan in the earlier shorts. But I think what's interesting is we get to see through her actions, her conflicts, how she's very much kind of sussed out how the Inquisitors behave and how they are not going to tolerate people just walking out on them like that. I guess those two are Jedi younglings or Padawans as well, because they both know her.
He had a tragic accident.
That was, and there's that like little gem that he was holding with the little bit of blood on there. That's very ominous for sure.
But then we get to see her and the other kid, whose name is, I believe, was Dante, fight it out. And it's like, you could choose to not fight each other, but then you will both die. I'm like, oh, okay. And then like he's
Dante
going
is
at her.
By a YouTuber, by the way, Nicholas Cantu,
who also voiced who do you also he voiced
Rowan Freemaker in the Lego Star Wars show, The Freemaker Adventures. So I think
he was Leo in the new Ninja Turtles movie from last year.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, and I guess it says here he was the third voice of Gumball in The Amazing World of Gumball, which I did not know. So he's got quite a lot of voice acting credits to his name as well.
That's two Gumball voice actors who voiced Leonardo. That's crazy.
Yeah. So like he's like swinging at her, she's dodging, and then like she just like force chokes him and immediately just disposes of him. This was another thing I think of, like if the shorts were a little longer, we could have spent more time on this fight. It felt like it was just like swing, choke, gone. But at this point, it's like, all right, so she's fully in the dark side at this point, and then the next time we see her, she's got her Inquisitor armor on. We see a lineup of we see Lynn, we see Mark, we see the scary looking one from
Clancy Brown fella. Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, so we got a little bit of something. It's like you're teasing us here with Marok here again.
That dude may be scary, by the way, but he is a total punk. Like it's the fact that he, like, I know Ahsoka's really powerful, but it's so funny to me that the Inquisitor who looks the scariest arguably got taken out the quickest.
Yeah, he lasts another like
Marek lasted longer against her. He was already dead.
Yeah. And then it's like, all right, here is your new master. And then Vader walks in. And Vader in his mind must be thinking like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, he's embarrassed there.
I was so happy that they did this in the first episode, because the whole time that we were going into this, I was terrified that we were gonna the whole segment of Barriss' story was going to be about her training to be an Inquisitor, and then she was going to get killed by Darth Vader because he knew who she was and blamed her still for Ahsoka. I want to ask you a question here. Do you think Vader recognized Barriss either through the Force or because here's the thing, I understood for a while why a lot of people thought, oh, he's just gonna kill her because he hates her for what she did to Ahsoka. But I kind of feel like Vader is spiteful enough a person that he would see Barriss serving as an Inquisitor to be punishment enough, because now she's got to go and hunt all of the Jedi, and he knows from his own experience that it's not going to be a happy life. So it's something she's going to suffer through.
I don't think Barriss sensed that was Anakin, but
I think she sensed something familiar. Like her head tilts up a little bit, but I don't think she knows it's Anakin, because I feel like if she knew it was Anakin, she wouldn't have been able to contain her surprise and her shock. Because even Ahsoka had trouble sensing who Anakin was. Yeah.
The only one that we know has no problem was Obi-Wan. But I did think it was a very, very impactful scene. And then the "Long live the Empire," and then Barriss puts on the helmet.
Yeah.
"Long live the Empire" with the voice. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is so cool.
She sounds so cool with the voice modulator as well.
The only thing about these stories, I really liked her arc. I thought her going back to the light was not something I expected, and I actually kind of liked it on rewatch. I selfishly wish we got a little bit more time with Inquisitor Barriss.
Well, here's the thing.
The nerd in me
still could.
is like, but what's her Inquisitor name? Like that. It's the same thing with the Stranger. But what's the Sith title?
What's the title? Come on, give us the title, Lucasfilm. I also really liked how her helmet was very similar to the helmet she stole from Asajj Ventress. Because I remember thinking, please, when you make her an Inquisitor, give her a helmet that at least looks like that helmet, because that was a perfect symbol for her downfall, that she was stealing, she was basically trading places with a Darksider. And the fact that they actually gave her a helmet that is very similar, it might have been the same one spray painted, but I think there's just a few things different. The fact that they went with a very similar helmet for Barriss as an Inquisitor is really cool. And as you said, it's such a great way to end that first segment, especially with her modulated voice. Meredith Salinger, by the way, it's so great that they got her back. And I also love every time that she tweeted about like Star Wars, like Patton Oswalt was there to support her. It's just he's such a supportive husband of Meredith. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, no, I was a big fan of this short. And everything we got there. When we get to realization, we see her and the fourth sister on a mission. We don't know. I'm assuming it's relatively soon after the first one. Sometime could have passed, but it feels like it was still relatively early into the Empire's reign.
It felt to me like on the rewatch, like she had been through enough missions, because I don't feel like she goes on one mission and then she just changes her mind. I feel like she has been through this enough where she's already feeling conflicted, because maybe she's had to bring other Jedi in or kill them. And I think just this mission is the one where that finally, because I think I might be going out on a limb here. I have to wonder if we'll see her show up. Because if they are doing an animated show about the path, it would be really cool if we saw her show up first as an Inquisitor. Like maybe she shows up and maybe she fights Ahsoka, and Ahsoka and her have an encounter, and Barriss doesn't go back to the light then, but she emerges a little bit like conflicted after meeting Ahsoka. Because as we hear in the third segment,
I think that all signs of the path is the next show point to Barriss being in it, because she's very clearly connected to something related to it. We know in the third episode, she's, an old friend can help you out, which to me, that can only mean one person. I was shocked they didn't do a little musical cue in there. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I remember thinking, being like, oh, what? She's already met Ahsoka. That's kind of like disappointing.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, oh, but are they going to like show this happening in the next animated show? Because I'd be very surprised if Ahsoka doesn't figure into the path somewhat.
I feel like having Barriss and eventually even Lynn in that series would be a really cool development. I am, again, there's so much in both this and Bad Batch that are pointing towards that being where we're going next. And I really do want to see Barriss have a role in this show, because I think it was great seeing her again, but she's a character she's a character like Quinlan, where people are always like, all right, well, when are we getting her again? And like, we finally got some, and it's like, we have since that third episode is like so much further in time compared to the second ones, it's like reverse of what I was like with Morgan. I'm like, why are these so close in time together? It's like, I wish we got to see more of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's so much you can do. The fact that she is a force healer again, which she was in Legends, and there was Legends books
That's
about that.
so cool, by the way. Like,
I think you can have that be a whole story, and I think having her be one of the Jedi contacts in the path, like Quinlan, like Ventress, I think would be a very nice development. Maybe not right away, but like gradually, like even if, like you said, she shows up first as an Inquisitor and then shows back up, and we maybe see the sweet non-binary Jedi that's in this short like show up in an episode of that show, and then I'm like go off, and then we hear about, oh, Barriss has defected and she comes back and joins the path. There's so many, like, Dave again gave us answers, but gave us so many more open-ended like story opportunities here, which I think was kind of intentional. Well, I mean, it was obviously intentional, but I think like it was with purpose this time. Like, it's leading to something. It's not like in Clone Wars where she was supposed to die in the wrong Jedi, and then Dave was like, oh no, hold on, I got plans. It's like, what are those plans? I got him. Like, you know,
I got him.
Yeah,
I'll get to him when I get to him.
But I really liked this one short.
Yeah,
because it was so, this first part, man, really dark. Barriss goes up to the little kid and it's like, it's okay, you can tell me the truth. And the kid says, oh, the Jedi's in the mountains. And then Lynn is just like, you gave me your word, and kills that entire village.
Oh, like I watched that and I was like, oh, so you were the quiet psychopath in the Obi-Wan show then? Like, geez, that is some grim shit. Like the way she just massacres all of them. Like, it made her so threatening in that moment. And again, I really love that they brought the fourth sister back, and they got her actress Rhea Kilstack back to voice her, because she was so threatening here. She felt so like completely unbalanced in the way she's handling stuff, and just the way, the kind of thinly veiled anger with which she answers all of like Barriss's like kind of questions of like, well, isn't this just gonna like create more fear and like and cause people to like rise up against us? And she's like, no, they'll respect our strength. Yeah, like it's a really like it's laying out the whole philosophy of the Empire, because obviously one of the questions going into this and coming out of it was, why was this Tales of the Empire? Because these are two characters that are somewhat removed from the Empire a little bit, but like what the reason for them being here is that both of their kind of like ideologies and the thought process that they have does kind of like suit the philosophy of the Empire, and the fourth sister lays out exactly how the Empire thinks in that moment. And it's great because
she's drinking the Empire Kool-Aid right now, and Barriss is like, I don't know, like she's starting to break free of it at this point.
Yeah, which makes me think she's been on more than one mission, because I feel like she's been worn down through the constant like hunting of Jedi and like imposing the Empire's will on the galaxy. And I like that she sort of is worn down and breaks free from it, because it really kind of shows how it makes her come full circle, because like as we see later on, where she does that really awesome moment where she force pushes Lynn off the cliff. She has that line, you have one more Jedi to deal with. Like, she has come full circle from denouncing the Jedi as a whole as this like corrupt institution that is fighting for the dark side, to now calling herself one again, because she's come to understand just how much the dark side was preying on the Jedi and forcing them into a conflict that they didn't want to fight, but they were forced into to try and save as many people as they could. And
then those clones from the Coruscant are like, wait a minute, hold on. She's a Jedi again. Go get her.
They get triggered, they get triggered and they
the
go
alarms
off,
go off.
Yeah,
I thought it was
like in Kill Bill,
a great climactic moment. Again, I'm glad we rewatched this, because my memory from the first watch had me misremembering that village scene as Lynn killing the little child afterwards too.
That was horrible though. The fact that the child is just left on their own is just like, it's just a horrible image of just like, oh. And there's some really good visual imagery throughout these shorts as well, like how in the first short there is that segment where the sun is being blotted out by that a fragment of Fortress Inquisitorious, and it's just literally how this installation exists, this whole institution exists to shut out the light and convert people to the dark side. And there's just also some really cool imagery, how like when we get up to the top of the cliff and the fourth sister is fighting that unnamed Jedi, everything is shrouded in mist. There's like fog everywhere because Barriss is so muddled at this point. Her mind is unclear. She's questioning whether what the Inquisitors do is justified. And even before the whole village massacre scene, she's talking to that child, and she takes the helmet off because she knows it scares the kid, and she speaks sweetly and calmly to the child, and she gets the information because she gets the child to trust her, whereas Lynn only inspires fear and distrust with the locals through her threatening energy and her voice. Like all it does is put the villagers off her, whereas Barriss gets the result that she was intending to. And it's just a really interesting dichotomy. And I think, are they both Mirialans, the fourth sister and Barriss? I think the fourth sister is a different alien, but I'm not sure.
I think she's a different one too.
Yeah, because she has the tendrils, and Barriss is Mirialan, so she has like hair. But that segment was also, again, it was a repeat of the scene with the kid. Barriss is able to hold her own against that Jedi and kind of not so much preys on their loneliness, but basically connects to them through this. She says to the Jedi, "Aren't you tired of running?" And the Jedi says, "Yeah, I'm so tired." And we haven't known this Jedi for very long, but that's a really affecting moment. The performer who played the Jedi did really well in just selling just how tired that Jedi was, just how lonely a life the Inquisitors have made for them. And it was really affecting moment. I completely forgot that they survived when Lynn slashed them in the back with the lightsaber. I thought they were dead, and it just. In that moment, I was like, "Oh, that's so awful and such a horrible, dirty trick to get them in the back." But I really like that they survived because it really kind of cements what Barriss becomes, how she becomes a healer and starts like protecting those who have been preyed on by the Empire. It was just a really cool moment.
Yeah, no, it was really nice. And then that directly leads into the third episode where we realize that some time, probably years have passed. I'm not sure how long. I'm assuming it's after the Kenobi show, just based on.
I would assume so, yeah. So it's
Lynn
been
kind of renounced the Inquisitorious at the end of this episode.
It's been 10 years then, at least. I would say, I don't think we can safely say when the second segment takes place, but the third one probably takes place post Kenobi, at least, which will kind of explain why the fourth sister seems so reserved during that thing and not really in the fight for Kenobi, because she's hunting for Barriss. She's like, I don't care about this Obi-Wan guy. I just want to get Barriss. And go home.
Barriss seems quite a bit older in this one.
Yeah, which I'm kind of like, I do have to wonder if that's through her use of the Force healing technique, because of the way Rise of Skywalker portrayed it, is that once you heal someone, you sort of have to give up some of your own life force, and that kind of like takes a toll on you, which I'm not entirely sure that I love, but like it was an interesting way to depict it, and I like that. She's, as you said, become a healer again, as she was in Legends. I will mention the people who both her attendants and the family she goes to, because obviously I immediately recognized Steve Blum voicing the little sort of armadillo furry armadillo thing that like unrolls and leads them there. But her other attendant is voiced by Anna Graves, who voiced Satine, which is just really cool. And I don't know about the father who voices the father, but the mother is voiced by a British actress called Susie McGrath, who wasn't in Doctor Who, but she was in Resistance. She voiced the character Tam Rivora.
That was Tam.
That was Tam. So because full disclosure for our viewers or listeners, I haven't seen Star Wars Resistance. Andrew has. So is Tam a main character in Resistance?
She is. Yeah, she's part of the main cast.
That's a really cool.
She has a very similar arc to a lot of the characters that we've talked about here. So
that's really
when we get to Resistance in a decade, that'll be very fun to go over. But I
Like,
love this.
we're all just like bitter and in our
Yeah.
40s, and we're like, yeah. So his resistance, I guess we gotta talk about that.
I'm just looking this up. The last 2 episodes are written by Matt Miknovitz, who
They
famously
are, yes.
was interviewed by Connor, which was a fun time over on the SWE site, which is currently down for maintenance.
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
like Barriss Offee. We don't know if it when it's coming
We
back.
don't know
But
when
we'll
it's
get to
coming
it.
back.
But we'll get to it when we
eventually.
get to it. Yeah.
But I just love this reveal of like having her be the healer. It was such a nice touch, and just
Yeah.
seeing her like fully like warmth, like the warmth in her character again, like having her
Yeah.
back on the light
The
side,
smile.
and just describing the Force and the how she was trained and taken from her family was really interesting. It's like, oh, does that mean our son is a Jedi? It's like, no, but he has the potential to be. It's like, oh, his gifts
Yeah.
are now a curse. And then as soon as you say that, like the candle goes out, like the wind starts blowing,
Yeah.
just to like sense that the fourth sister is coming. It was just the way that like this was built up. It felt very like a Western is how I would describe a lot of the early portions of
Yeah.
this story. And then when Lynn and Barriss start fighting, and she's just, it's very Luke and TLJ, this fight, just dodging everything left, right, and center.
Your
I have
anger
a
makes
question.
you predictable.
Yep. I have a question about this cave that she is able to get lost in, while the family is able to find the way out. Do you think, since virginces are a very popular hot commodity these days, we know that the Dagobah cave is one. Do you think that this cave here might have been one?
I think it very well could have been, because it would explain, because Lynn even says that she wasn't looking for Barriss. She says, after, of course I find you when I'm not looking for you. Like she was tracking that child, and we know that Yoda chose Dagobah because that the Virgins in the dark side cave is what masked his presence to the Emperor and Vader. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was a Virgins, and if Barriss chose that place because her presence is masked by it. Granted, she's not nearly as powerful as Yoda, but it would make a lot of sense, and it would also explain the voices that Lynn
really
hears.
cool.
It was a really cool, and I love it as like a metaphor, because it's a perfect metaphor of the dark side and what the supposed strength that the dark side gives you. What it eventually leads you to, how you can't trust anything, how you're lost. Everything is like you're left paranoid. Everything is turned against you. And to see Lynn slowly start to go mad and fearful in the cave, and to have what Barriss said come true. Your fear is not your ally; it is your master. It's just it's so like brilliantly done, and a great metaphor for the dark side and the Empire at large.
Yeah, and then when she's swinging and she goes out, and we just feel her stat, and I just go, god damn it!
I was like, oh no, because I really
Mhm.
didn't want Barriss to die, and I was really worried she would. And when she got stabbed, I was like, oh, no. I mean, and there's that whole segment where she just says, you know the way out. You just have to
Like, I
accept
forgive
it.
you.
Yeah, and it's just it's a really powerful moment, and I was never expecting that we would go into this getting a redeemed Inquisitor by the end of it again, because it was enough of a surprise when it happened to Reva in the Obi-Wan show, and for it to happen again with Lynn, it was not something I was expecting, especially since she is she was a very vicious Inquisitor and dealt out a lot of pain to people,
Yeah, in the
far more
last
than
episode,
anything.
we saw her murder
Yeah.
an entire village.
And she's now got a second chance, which is just so interesting. And again, I just like with Reva, I want to see this character show up again, because
The last shot we see is like a glimpse of her getting out of the cave with Barriss, which I'm like,
the episode literally ends
Yeah.
as they both step into the light. It's perfect. Like,
I
it's a great
take
way
that
to end
as she survived. Now, I
Yeah.
hope I'm right.
She
Because
doesn't
it's
stop
like
breathing.
another
And her
ambiguous
hand,
ending.
yeah, I'm going with she survived, because she doesn't stop breathing. Her hand, she takes Lynn's hand, and they don't show a visual of the hand slipping away, which is what always is. It's one of the easiest visual shorthands to do if you want to show that a character has passed away in animation or live action. And she says, "I'm going to get you out of here," and it's not spoken like she's talking to someone who's dead. I think Barriss will survive, because characters have survived worse in Star Wars. Literally in Book of Boba Fett, Fennec Shand got shot in the chest, in the stomach, and survived for hours afterwards. Like Boba literally carried her back to a Tatooine installment on a Bantha, which aren't famed for being very fast. So if she can survive that, I think Barriss can survive a lightsaber stab wound to the stomach, because again, this was a non-lethal place. It looked like she stabbed her. It's not like with Jecki or with Yord, where in the Acolyte, where it's a very clearly a fatal area. This is more Sabine in Ahsoka, where the precision, the place where she's been attacked is very specific. So to give us that margin of survival for Barriss.
Yord and Jecki are just sleeping. It's okay. They're fine.
Oh,
we didn't see their corpse or anything.
I'm still in denial over it. Man. I
got the Black Series and I was just like, damn it.
Like not like I'll be real. Daphne Keane showing up in Deadpool and Wolverine it's done something to heal that a little bit, but I'm still a little heartbroken over Jecki going.
A little bit.
And I can say that because they put it in the trailer.
She's in the trailer, so I was like, hold on, where are we going here? But like, she's in the trailer, so we can say that.
Not all is lost, Jecki Jam.
We're getting a book. I cannot wait for that book. That book is going to be...
Yes, we're getting a book
good.
about Yord and Jecki by Tessa Gratton as well. And Tessa Gratton really... This is a good... I'm going to do this since we're nearing the end, since I always like to update our listeners on my High Republic process. So I not only finished Path of Vengeance, I've been on a binge since we last recorded. Not only have I finished Path of Vengeance, I have also finished Tales of Light and Life, which is fantastic. There are some great short stories in here, some great bookends to Phase 2, and some great kind of like ground building for Phase 3. There's a great story with Salandra Show and her Padawan that really closes out Phase 2 in a really satisfying way for me. And I have also read Shadows of Starlight. Finally, it's so good. Comic. It's so freaking good, man.
Freaking good.
It's so freaking good.
Like I said, when we did our best of 2023 episode, I squeezed that in the day or two before the recording. I was like, it's got to make the list. I'm
really sorry to Mando 3, but I really think Mando 3 has just been kicked off like completely from that list because of these would have been on my list for 2022. Yeah. So I am currently, just to try and finish this up, I am currently on Eye of Darkness. I have started reading Eye of Darkness. I'm trying to get to Temptation of the Force before the next young adult novel comes out, so I can be part of the discourse for that. But nice. Yeah, it's really exciting so far. I'm going to
try and, after I finish The Living Force, I'm going to try and jump back into High Republic so I can get more caught up.
Living Force is next on my list after I get done with Phase 3.
So good. But to wrap things up with the Barriss shorts, again, there are some things that I wish we got a bit more of. Like, part of me selfishly is like, I wanted to see more Barriss, like, as an Inquisitor on the dark side. Part of me would have liked to see her maybe stay on that trajectory, but like having her redeemed, I liked it a lot more upon rewatch. Whereas the first time I was like, okay, like I'm cool with this, but like I kind of like wish we got a little bit more of her as an Inquisitor. But every episode really worked for me, especially upon rewatch. And I think having the choice of it not being like like having like Ahsoka in these, but having it be Lynn, I think worked really well. And by the end of their story, I was fully behind. I was ready to see this dynamic continue. And I do think that unlike the Elsbeth ones, this is kind of like a backdoor into what we can see in the future. Because I have a feeling that Barriss is going to be in this next show in some way, shape, or form.
I would have to agree. I would have to agree with everything you said.
A whole lot is coming, but it's like, what is it? Give us something. We got nothing.
Give us something.
Give us something.
I agree with everything you just said there. I liked the Barriss shorts more than the Morgan shorts, but I was a little more mixed on them than most people were at the start. I did want more of Barriss as an Inquisitor, and I was a little frustrated by, as much as I liked it, I was frustrated at the same time by the ambiguousness of the ending.
Yeah.
But on rewatch, there's a lot here that really resonated with me. I really liked the portrayal of the Empire as this like big machine, and how it's really great to end the show that's very dark, very gets into some really dark shit about like cycles of anger and hate. It's great to end it on an optimistic note, showing how that there is in fact a way out of it. There is a way to it's never too late to put away to overcome the dark feelings that have taken you down a bad path and go back into the light, as it were.
Whereas Morgan was consumed by the dark and the shadow of the Empire.
It's like poetry.
Barriss was able to find the way out and return.
Exactly. There's some really good
voice acting. I don't think was anyone's expectation when the show was announced of where Barriss' story was going to go.
I thought Barriss' story was going to get darker and darker, but it was really nice that she has a level of optimism, and that the Filoni and co were able to kind of like thread her time in Legends in with her redemption. Is just a really neat touch, and it's a far cry from a series 1 where you had that whole controversy over the third Ahsoka short basically overwriting the events of the Ahsoka novel, which kind of sucked, even if I liked some elements about it. But overall, the Barriss shorts are definitely superior in terms of like which 2 segments I prefer of Tales of the Empire. It's kind of like the reverse of Dooku, where I kind of because the Dooku shorts work so much better for me than the Ahsoka ones did overall, even though I like the Ahsoka shorts. But yeah, Barriss shorts have worked really well, and I think you're absolutely right. I think it's very likely a backdoor into Barriss hopefully appearing in different iterations in this Path episode. Like if we get an Ahsoka Barriss confrontation first as an Inquisitor, and then after her redemption and turn back to the light, that would be very cool. But yeah, that's kind of what I feel about it overall.
I think that comparing this to Tales of the Jedi, it's weird because I think the best of the Dooku shorts is still the best that this series has been so far, but I do think in terms of quality of season, I think that this might have been a stronger one, just because I think that even like the weaker Morgan ones were better than the weaker Ahsoka ones.
I would agree, because the Ahsoka stuff, the first segment is really good, and there are bits in the other ones that I really like, but I would say overall, I just feel like
Tales of the Jedi played it a bit too safe.
The Ahsoka ones do feel a bit like more just like, oh, here's an easy ticket in. Oh, you want more Ahsoka? Here's Ahsoka, and it felt a bit kind of like superfluous, really. Like the whole segment, like it was really cool with the clones training, but it's not something we all needed so much. Those 2 episodes, like the most interesting bit about the 3rd episode was the funeral with Padme, which was the bit I go back to over and over in terms of like as an episode, but. I do agree that Tales of the Empire is the more consistent, because the quality of storytelling is definitely higher. And I do think that has to do with the fact that Filoni is not just handling all of this himself. He's got other writers in to help kind of like keep the dialogue kind of flowing in an interesting way. Matt Mitniewicz, as you said, but there are other writers as well. Amanda Rose, I apologize if I'm pronouncing her surname wrong, but Amanda Rose Munoz writes all of the Morgan Elsbeth stories, and then, like you said, there is the first episode of Barriss's arc is written by Nicholas Anasa. Oh, I there's no way I can pronounce that right. But basically, all the writers. Unfortunately, we'll put it in captions who wrote the first Barriss episode, but they've all done a really good job at like streamlining the dialogue. There's memorable dialogue in all of these, even the Morgan shorts. Like as I said, there's that my whole world's been burning since I was a child. All of the stuff that comes out of Thrawn's mouth is great. And Barriss has a lot of moving dialogue as well, especially in the 3rd episode when she talks about like the Jedi, and it's really. There's something quite satisfying in hearing how she's come to terms with the Jedi and kind of forgiven them for going astray the way that they did in the Clone Wars. It's just a nicely optimistic note to end the series on.
Yeah, I still have a lot of hope for this anthology series. I've enjoyed it overall, but like I still think the concept has been better than what we've had so far. Like it has
I would
potential to be
agree.
so much more, and I
Yeah.
hope they continue to do it. And like, because I could tell that they took more risks with this one, with both the character choices and what we got in the story.
And I
But
like that. Take
I
risks.
still
for
am
sure.
like, I want a bit more because I've enjoyed what we've had, but I think like the concept of this series could
Yeah.
be so much more.
The big problem for me is episode length, and I feel like the not just the episode length, but the amount of episodes. I feel like maybe we're underserved having 3. If they're going to be so short, like maybe stretch it out to 4 episodes per character, so we can like have, depending on which character it is. Like if you can get a full story out of 3 episodes, kind of like what we got with Dooku, then fine, that worked perfectly. But I feel like some certain characters are going to need more episodes, or at least longer ones, to accurately convey their story. I'm going to ask you one more thing just before we wrap up, since we've talked about the concept here. If it's your choice, like which, considering that this series looks like it's going to have a different subtitle each time. We've had Tales of the Jedi, now we've got Tales of the Empire. What would you want the 3rd season to be about? Like what would you like to be tales of? Out of interest.
Ooh, let me think here. I don't know if I want like a bounty hunters. I feel like that might be a little too samey of what we've had. Oh, that's maybe like a Tales of Tales of the High Republic is always an option.
I
Tales of the
wouldn't say
Resistance,
no.
Tales of the First Order, something like that would be cool.
That would be cool, yeah. I mean, Tales of the Rebellion is the most obvious one because, you know, we've gone from the Jedi to the Empire, now the Rebellion, and I could easily see how they could do those segments. Like maybe we do one of Omega fighting in the Resistance. Maybe she meets Luke, or Rex even. Like in the Resistance, we do some Rebels era stuff in the Clone Wars art style. But I mean, if it was up to me, I'm kind of tempted by Tales of the Mandalorians or Tales of Mandalore, cool, because we could do stuff like, and my choice, if I had to choose 2 characters, I would go with the Kree sisters for the first segment and then Jango Fett for the second. Because I feel like you could get into some really cool,
I thought you were going to say Tar Vizsla, but I like Jango a lot.
Tar Vizsla, yeah, but I like Tar Vizsla will be interesting, but I really like the idea of because I have been fascinated with the idea of Jango being involved in the Mandalorian Civil Wars, because it's explored a little bit in some of the Legends comics, especially the tie-ins to the Bounty Hunter game that was released along with Attack of the Clones in the early 2000s. But it's just really cool that Filoni and Favreau recanonized that as part of Jango's backstory. So I'd love to see that partially adapted, and also to see maybe like an exploration of Satine and Bo-Katan as like young, when they were younger, and how the ideological divide happened between them. Like, because I always thought, like, when we got that tidbit about Bo-Katan's father dying in the 2nd episode of Mando season 3, that was the inciting point. Maybe it was like Mandalorian separatists, and like that kind of like, it, just as it affirmed Satine's desire for peace, maybe it reaffirmed Bo-Katan's desire to like be a traditionalist. And it would be just really cool to explore that. And hey, maybe we get like a little exploration of like Obi-Wan meeting Satine first time, because
please,
come on, like we've either got to get it as a book or like as a show. Come on, like
they know that they're sitting on a gold mine right now. Like they
come
need
on,
to
you
do
have
that
so
at some point.
Like Obi-Teen is to Star. I would argue Obi-Teen is to Star Wars what Swifties are to the music industry at the moment. Come on, like give us our own eras tour.
Yeah, we need our eras tour of Satine and Obi-Wan on Mandalore.
I mean, I say that as someone who's not even a Taylor Swift fan.
Yeah, just give us that and we're good. But I think we can wrap things up here. Thank you for joining us for our double episode covering Tales of the Empire. Finally getting to it.
We finally did it. It's the Frodo GIF. It's done.
It's done. It took us long enough, but we're finally able to discuss it and finally start catching up with what we've missed. Donovan, where can everyone find you while we get out of here today?
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead, where I've been tweeting a whole bunch about like the Olympics and Star Wars and other stuff. The Olympics were really fun. There was definitely a few fun Star Wars memes to be had there. You can also find me on TikTok at Donovan McComish, Instagram at Donovan_McComish, Threads Donovan_McComish, and Blue Sky at DonovanMcComish.bsky.social. I am also a question writer for Star Wars Inner Galaxy Epic Confrontations, the series of trivia matchups that we do. I'm a writer alongside Connor, Eli, and a bunch of other cool people. If you like seeing different Star Wars internet personalities go head to head over Star Wars lore, then absolutely check it out. We've had some really cool matches these past few weeks. I am also a writer and executive producer for SWEF, or Star Wars Editor Fiction, which is a series of interconnected short stories that try to stay within the boundaries of what is canon in Star Wars. But we also like to take a few bits and pieces from Legends if we feel it suits the story. I have written one story that released in 2022. It is called Star Wars Scars of War, and it takes place 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, where a clone trooper named Blister finds his relatively quiet existence on the Outer Rim world of Kivo disturbed by the arrival of a Jedi survivor of Order 66 known as Shar Kun. And it's all about them unpacking their trauma at the hands of that terrible event. So if you like Star Wars and pain, definitely check it out. When the site comes back up, I'm going to try and make it available outside of the SWF domain.
As for myself, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Starlight Andrew. You can follow the pod on Twitter at For the Republic Pod and on Instagram, at For the Repub Pod on Twitter and on Instagram and TikTok at For the Republic Pod for future updates on the show and see what episodes we're going to be doing soon. Now that we're done with our Acolyte coverage and we're just going to be catching up, going back into the Clone Wars. One last thing I want to do before we leave. One of my other lifelong loves, besides Star Wars, has been Pokemon, and we lost a good one today. Rachel Lillis, the voice of Misty and Jessie in the original Pokemon anime, sadly passed away yesterday after a battle with cancer. One of the voices of my childhood. I watched that anime all the time. And it's just one of the things in my life that's been just a constant since I've first fell in love with it at a young age. So that one hurt getting off work and seeing that today. So rest in peace to Rachel, and my thoughts are with the family and with the entire Pokemon and anime community right now. My thoughts are with you. But thank you for joining us for our Tales of the Empire coverage. We will be back soon with more Star Wars goodness. And until next time, see you guys later, and may the Force be with you. Always.
A good friend left me, and I miss her every day. But I know we'll always be friends forever.